I've watched the first episode. It's quite funny.
Yeah, you should watch.
Fantastic. I picked it up on Sunday and I finished it earlier today. Like, holy shit, it's so good.
I actually enjoyed it. It's it's funny because I enjoy nothing. So what you do with the community is you take the community and you set it on fire and you start all over again.
Anyway, welcome to Elite Cadre,
where we are the gasoline on the War Machine community.
Apparently.
I'm the match.
Right, well, in addition to all, we probably want to talk about...
I'm tin, please don't
Con
swipe right. What?
What do we want to talk about?
SmogCon stroke BonesCon.
Yeah, probably.
It's not called SmogCon anymore.
It's BonesCon. The bones have risen from the smog? Something? The corpse of SmogCon? The bones of...
My boner has risen from the smog.
Oh, God.
Sorry, I'm out. Bye. Enjoy the
things so terrible, Benj.
Because I am terrible. I am literally terrible.
I started.
Oh, wow. The SmogCon Twitter feed appears to have been deleted. So all there is now is the BonesCon Twitter feed with one tweet.
What's it say?
Welcome to BonesCon.
Oh, dear.
Can I delete the Elite Cadre Twitter and just put welcome to Elite Cadre?
I will burn your face off.
Or just can our final tweet when we inevitably give up just be you've been listening to Elite Cadre?
I thought I've
just release a fake episode 101, which is like, just us all saying goodbye for 10 minutes.
I really thought
say goodbye, Queer.
I thought maybe it'd be a bit of a struggle to get this one after the.
You made me a promise that I could call you quitter all night.
Yeah, but I didn't imagine it'd be that. I thought we'd take longer. We'd take more medication. We'd see psychiatrists, and then we'd come back and maybe talk about War Machine imports. I don't know.
Trying to find some of the information for BonesCon is just
maybe
not easy.
Maybe it's not real.
It is, but there's very little described about it because it's like I know somewhere there's a list of the games that have been confirmed for it.
Isn't the website somewhere?
I think it was on the Smog Facebook. However, that may not exist anymore.
Yeah, this is kind of the problem.
I'm going to go get a drink of gin.
I mean, SmogCon Facebook still exists. Oh, wait, no, it doesn't. It says, sorry, this content is not available.
No. John's deleted all the... Why not just rename the old stuff, John? Just rename it.
Put a post up on Saturday saying, go to my seen in the SmogCon page about all game system we'll likely see next February. War Machine, and I can imagine Horror with that. Malifaux, Mike's Malifaux's Madness, follow on to DAFCON, Drop Zone, currently in negotiation but pretty much confirmed. I know Infinity has been confirmed. Bushido, Conversation.
Is Alex a robot for anyone else?
He's breaking up terribly.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't think it was purely an issue of hearing you. I think it's a bandwidth issue.
Yeah, it was the internet rather than microphone.
Brilliant. So where did you hear up to? What did you get?
We got Malifaux's Madness, the DAFCON thing, Drop Zone, Infinity.
Bushido is pretty much negotiation. I think 40k may have been confirmed. Conversations are being had with Wild West Exodus, Steamforged, Fallout, Acton Cthulhu, and on the list is Age of Sigmar, Blood Bowl, and Gates of Antares.
Ah, there we go. I found the tweets now.
Gates of what?
Gates of Antares, Rick Priestley's future combat game.
Not 40.
Okay.
It's definitely not 40k.
It's definitely not 40k.
And it's definitely not where Age of Sigmar nicked its ideas from.
Okay.
Because, the whole thing about Gates of Antares is that you have various worlds that have gates to this one central place where there's conflict. Which is completely separate from the reality bubbles of Age of Sigmar.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
I'm going to do my sarcasm face now.
I can't see it.
You can't see a lot of things.
You're talking over his sarcasm face. How could you?
I'm playing Hearthstone. That's how.
Oh, why are you playing Hearthstone, Benj?
Because I hate myself. But
Because they're bringing Death Knights into the game and it'll make it good.
yeah, I 44.99 to throw down on that. It's a lot of money.
Hearthstone, it's like a TCG for people who can't get TCGs.
I don't get TCGs.
Just
I don't have friends to
I
play
know it's not
TCGs
for
with.
me, but it still annoys me.
I don't have friends to play TCGs with.
I hate just the way that game is made.
Why?
If it allows you to do 3 ofs and took it up to 40 cards a deck, I might be able to get along with it. But 2 ofs and 30 cards is just like, whatever. I just can't handle deck building in that environment. It's not interesting.
It's not a proper card game.
Right, so I have the tweets from Dr. Norbert. We have the dates for BonesCon. Let me look. All I need now is the tweet.
Bones, calling Captain Bones, Captain Bones.
What? No.
Why not?
I'm going to go with because.
Right
Great, he's away. I can start. Right, I'll scroll down the Twitter feed to the point where we start getting asked questions, which was a long time ago. So if we do BonesCon, then have a quick talk about the ETC, then go through the questions people asked us. That should be a podcast, right?
Mm-hmm.
What?
Okay.
What's a podcast?
What's a podcast?
Oh. Who's binging?
Bing. Kurt.
And mute for 8 hours.
Right, you can't hear us for 8 hours. Quick, let's get to the Facebook group.
I could be playing Fire Pro Wrestling right now.
What is Fire Pro Wrestling?
It's a video game.
There's a Lucha Forever in
I'm
Southampton.
just going to try and come off this and come back on in a minute. 1 second.
I don't know if that's anything of interest for you, Mike.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Oh, all right.
What'd you say?
I said there's a wrestling thing, Lucha Forever, that's in Southampton.
Okay, not one I've heard of.
Towards the end of the month. Not sure if that's of any interest. I just linked it to you.
Cool. Thank you.
It's got Pete Dunne.
Ooh, okay.
So.
Can you hear me any better now?
You're a bit fuzzy.
Sound like you're in a fishbowl.
I don't think it's going to get any better, Alex. It's still on your connection. But
September.
You're not breaking up.
Okay,
So,
that's one thing.
right. So, we all clear on what we're doing?
What we do?
Excellent.
No, seriously, what was decided? I was getting a drink.
The bit that we talked about while you were here,
Oh, okay.
about 5 minutes ago, Bench,
Right.
that you weren't listening to because you're a terrible person who plays Hearthstone?
I guess so.
Yes, exactly. Hello and welcome to Elite Cadre, the Hordes of War Machine podcast that doesn't take itself too seriously. I'm Mike.
I'm Alex.
I'm
Alex is phoning in from Mexico in the 1970s.
Nick. I mean, I'm Nick. Again. Returned.
Returned. I am Benj.
You're a quitter.
I am also a quitter. I quit life. I gave up on it like a filthy bum.
Well, we can talk about that when we get round to talking about the ETC, I think, because that's definitely on the topic list for tonight, right?
Please no.
Yes, it is.
Topping list. Are we having ice cream again?
I've already had ice cream. Lovely mint, not cornetto.
Mint Netto.
No, it's a cornetto.
Other brands of ice cream are available in Mexico in the 1950s.
Oh,
Where are you in the 1950s? Holy shit!
anyway, let's plow forward with this podcast because we have lots of content.
Activities.
Yes, the big news of the last few weeks is that in one way or another, the concept of SmogCon is back from the dead. So
Yay?
we all went to SmogCon this year. We were told, nope, that's it. Done and dusted. This is finished. Well, apparently Captain Johnny Bones does not rest easy in his grave.
He is an undead pirate.
Well, exactly. So from the mouth of Mr. John Webb himself, we had the announcement of BonesCon, which resurrects a format of SmogCon from years past. From year 3, in fact, where it was a multi-system event. Now, we do have dates for BonesCon. That's February 16th to the 18th, 2018.
Same dates as before.
Yes. It's still going to be... What do you mean
In the
same
Hilton.
dates as before?
That's the dates that were confirmed already.
Okay. Fine. I'm not sure what for, but okay. We have an announcement that it's at the Birmingham Hilton Metropole. So if you like that hotel, you can go there again. And if you don't like their drinks prices, you can go to the Sainsbury's down the road. We've also had an announcement of some of the games that are confirmed to be at the event. So we have War Machine.
In no particular order.
Yeah, pretty much. War Machine, Malifaux, Drop Zone are definitely confirmed. For ones that require a little bit more negotiation and getting people involved, we have Infinity and Bushido.
I believe Infinity has actually now been confirmed.
Has been confirmed. Okay.
Yeah.
And then for ones that require even more talking around, we have Wild West Exodus, 40k, Guild Ball, and I don't know what's Fallout Stroke Cthulhu, because I don't think they're the same game, but there we go.
I know there is supposed to be a Fallout game that is supposed to be very good fun to play.
Yes, I did see it at UK Games Expo. But Fallout, not my thing, so I can't.
Where's the X-Wing?
Community leaders are needed to organise these games, which are Warhammer Age of Sigmar, Shadow War Armageddon, Blood Bowl, and the Gates of Antares. I find myself very surprised the fact that X-Wing is nowhere to be found on that list.
Because there are quite a few games of X-Wing going last time SmogCon was a multi-system event.
Yes, and it's it's one of the biggest miniatures games in Europe, if not the world. It's certainly had one of the biggest one days we've seen of, the biggest 2 days of recent times. And in fact, last year ran opposite SmogCon in the same hotel.
Yep. Yeah.
I was most upset about it because I wanted to go to that.
Yavin, was that not?
Pardon?
Yavin?
Yes, that was the Yavin Open.
Yeah.
So, if you're interested in any of those games or want to organise something at SmogCon, not SmogCon, BonesCon, yes.
BonesCon, isn't it?
It's going to take a while to get used to, I think.
Yeah, it really is. Then I would suggest you get in touch. Their Twitter name is at BonesCon, surprisingly.
It's not.
It's at Captain Bones.
Okay, I've seen a tweet here with
BonesCon.
Yes, you're right. CPT BonesCon. So someone's been tweeting at the wrong address at some point then. So the Twitter name is at CPT BonesCon. On Facebook, you can find them as BonesCon. And there is allegedly a website at bonescon.com.
Allegedly.
Oh, there is, in fact, it does load on my PC. Now that I've got my VPN working. Yay.
Stop being illegal.
Oh, John, you've called it the Bone Pit. Call it the
graveyard.
Bone Pit. Come on.
The graveyard.
No, the Boneyard.
Yeah.
That would make even more sense. But anyway. So, our favourite convention, well, my favourite convention anyway, I don't know about anyone else, is back. It's semi-alive and kicking, and we'll have even more stuff. So, that's definitely something to look out for over the next few weeks and months. If you're interested, I will certainly be there because I'm running what will pass for the Iron Arena along with Barry Pittman again. And doubtless you will see some familiar faces crewing that. As for everything else, well, we'll see. So there you go. There's some big news.
Yay.
Big news.
Yes. To move on to our next topic, does anyone have anything more to say about BonesCon?
I'm hoping they get some of the fantasy flights in there because it'd be quite good to throw down with some card games as well. Maybe the fantasy, the LFG will be out. LFR will be out by then. Yeah, that's the one.
L5R will certainly be out by then. L5R is September, I want to say.
So it'd be quite good if we get some card games in there, but that's down to John and whoever he's talking about. I mean, I'd love to throw down some Star Wars Destiny and stuff like that. But if not, we can just run it anyway because all we need to do is grab some empty tables in the bar, right?
Well, there'll probably be empty tables on the floor at points. So,
Yeah,
reference by the way, L5R Legend of the Five Rings card game that's coming out from FFG.
I believe there's going to be a board stroke card game area. My
Yay.
understanding is that there is going to be a specific area for that.
Well, there's always been a board and card game room. It just depends on what's set out for that and how it's run. But well, doubtless we'll get to that closer to the time. It's very much a big thing these days, is a board game area. Okay. So that's BonesCon.
Yeah. It will be a good weekend. It always is. John puts on a good show. So.
Absolutely.
Jesus Christ, is he calling from a truck stop?
He's calling from Mexico in the 1950s.
Look,
We've been there.
Not breaking up, and that is a massive plus point on earlier.
I know, but it sounds like he's... Yeah, never mind.
Anyway.
I love you, Alex.
Love you too.
Oh, that has yet to be proven.
It can be in a court of law.
I don't want to know. Next up is a quick discussion of an event that we all went to, which would be the ETC.
The Elite Cadre Team Challenge.
Yes, quite. All we were missing was Kurt. The rest of the podcast.
Sorry, I'm missing him again tonight.
Yeah, that's true. Kurt's deserted us again, presumably painting 40k stuff.
Should we tell people the truth?
No, they don't need to find the body yet.
Then hate Kurt.
Okay.
I hate Kurt.
He hoped to absorb his power.
Well, he is a Hanson. There can only be one true Hanson.
He wanted his height, and Ben's just tired of being so small.
Yep.
Wow. Okay.
Anyway, the ETC, for those who don't know, and I've probably explained this at least 1,000 times already, is a 5-person team challenge where essentially you and another team meet up. You're paired off via this weird-ass pairing mechanism that I can't be asked to explain. And then tournament happens. Yay. It's been going on for several years.
Many years.
More than one, at least.
Yes, because this was its first year at Firestorm. It had 3 previous at Northwest Gaming Centre.
Yeah, I want to say maybe 3 previous at Maelstrom, perhaps 2.
So it's
Maelstrom die in like 2012.
2012 was the one we played at Maelstrom. In the incredibly packed Maelstrom where everyone died of heat stroke.
And there was a big tent outside.
There was a
Yes,
tennis
there was,
centre.
but no games were being played in there. Yes.
That was where
Anyway,
food was, wasn't it? Well,
yes, that's where the food.
Call it food.
Yes. So it was a weekend-based event, and pretty much between us, you have the TO or EO in Alex, and then some of the judges. We're just missing an Enos, I think.
Yeah, just missing head judge Enos.
Yes, who's the one who actually knows all the rules. I kind of know most of the things, but some interactions escape me. And then we have a sliding scale down past Benj, and then at the bottom there's Nick, who occasionally looks at things and goes, "Ooh, that's a nice mob."
What? I used to know the rules amazingly well, thanks.
Good in Mark II.
Good in Mark 2, yeah. What's this Mark 3 business?
Oh God, no! We've become the new boosted damage.
Ah, shit. Right, who's off to have a baby then?
We're an edition behind.
Someone needs to have a baby, someone needs to start a convention, and we just need to die a death.
Not for another 16 episodes. I want to get to at least 100.
All right. Fuck, because we not got to 100 in 5 years.
No, we're on episode 84. You realise there was one period where I moved and wasn't playing, and then another one where my leg nearly fell off. So,
yeah, I'm aware.
Some mitigating circumstances on that. Also, we've moved from twice a month to once a month. Because, dear God, if this was recording every other week, I would have killed all of you bastards long ago.
Well, when we originally started, it was once a week, wasn't it?
Yeah, we used to record weekly.
No, it was never once a week.
I'm sure we definitely did some months where we did once a week.
No. I would have. No.
I'm pretty sure you did.
I'm going to stick my fingers in my ears. Can't hear you anymore. La 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 la.
And it was before you developed your amazing editing techniques.
My editing techniques, which are so lazy now compared to
what?
Compared to when you used to spend
anyway,
6 hours editing.
we're going off topic.
What's the topic?
Oh,
the chocolate bar.
So, I think probably the fairest thing to do is probably at this point to sort of. There's been a mixture of feedback on the event. People had some good points and some less good points, and some points that they kind of really disagreed with. I think probably the fairest point to kind of, Alex, what are you thinking in terms of the event?
I definitely want to carry it on next year. It will be back again, hopefully stronger than it has been before. There were areas where maybe I could have planned a bit better, executed a lot better. I think there's been a vocal minority on, well, I don't want to say vocal minority, that kind of diminishes from the feedback that I've received. You know, all the feedback that I have received.
I mean, I think, if I'm just going to say, there's been a lot of feedback, and I think, you know, there's with any event, there's always something to learn from and to improve on for the next time. I've yet to run. I've yet to either run or go to an event that is the perfect event. There's always something that is kind of fairly loudly complained about by someone. So, and I think a lot of the things that were said about the ETC, they've been common themes across events for some time.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly for an event of that size, it is always extremely difficult, for instance, to do catering.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that the Welsh Masters runs out of the same venue, similar size of people, well, similar amount of people, and there's always some fairly hefty queuing for lunches, whatever it is, whether it's got an outside provider in, whether they're using the Firestone kitchen. There are various ways you can sort of get around stuff like that, but it's always going to be mitigation. There's always going to be some downfall in the system there somewhere.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So,
and I think, you know, it's there was some feedback about the move to Firestorm. You know, for some people, it made the journey significantly longer, myself included. You know,
actually, that is a very interesting point. I mean, can you give us some of the kind of the rationale behind the move to Firestorm?
Yeah, so the move to Firestorm this year was primarily driven by the fact that at Element Games, there simply is not enough room to fit 160 players across one floor.
Yeah.
Firestorm basically said they've got the room. They didn't have the room, and they offered me their space to be able to fit 160 players. As it was, we didn't have quite 160. I think we were 130, I want to say.
Yeah, 2016 to 5, so yeah, 130.
Yeah, 26 teams. So I mean, even Element Games can't host that many. Element Games, the maximum in their kind of gaming hall is 110.
Well, so, just going off sort of some previous ETCs, when the hall became too small, which was for at least a couple of them, the downstairs room got hired. Yeah. Now, I judged that room last year. And it was playable. It was not ideal for lighting. It was not up to the same standard as upstairs. It caused organizational issues in the fact that it had a very narrow stairwell between it and the top floor. And this actually rests on myself and Jason for not quite communicating. There were differences in how the terrain was being played. There was a piece of terrain that I said, well, that's clearly a forest. And Jason was going, well, no, that's clearly a hill. So people were finding discrepancies between how some things were being played downstairs and upstairs. And that was purely on myself and Jason for not talking through everything before the event. So to move from something where it was 2 floors with quite a few disadvantages to something that was all on one floor, was all well lit. Okay, it still has some temperature issues, but that's time of year and amount of gamers in one space kind of related. To move on to that sort of one floor that's well lit, has a single good PA system, has access to a head judge whenever you can find him. He also has a habit of hiding. He does, though. He runs off into the shop or stands by the bar, and you're just kind of looking in the distance for the gleam off his dome, and that's how you locate him. So to move from Element Games to there, it's not an ideal travel destination for everyone. But then again, I challenge people to actually find a venue.
This is a challenge, and I'm very much open to it for next year. You know, if you know a venue that can provide sufficient terrain, gaming tables, and space for 160 players, then I'll line.
Do you think, Alex, though, that maybe it suffered from been there, done that syndrome with regards to the Welsh, and it's not actually the venue that is the problem? It's that if it came behind a tournament, a very large tournament, and maybe people were firestormed out, which isn't your fault necessarily, but you took the brunt of that kind of
quite possibly
feeling.
Could possibly be a factor as well.
That's certainly not something.
Two events in quick succession, both in a very similar location. Yeah, it could well be. What wasn't actually something I'd given any consideration to previously, but very realistically could be part of people's maybe desire, maybe not to go straight back there. I don't know. I think it's something that I need to think about for next year. You know, potentially next year we take it back to Element, run it there for a year, and then come back to Wales. I don't know. We may.
I do think in general the UK suffers from not having a Firestorm style venue that is in either Birmingham, Stoke, Sheffield.
Even Sheffield is a pretty tough to get to for some people.
Well, I mean, Sheffield is, quote, northern, but when you're looking at an event that has at least, you know, 2 of the Scottish teams, for instance, because for them, the Midlands is still the south. Manchester is almost still the south for them. Yeah. So you don't quite realise just how far some of these people are coming. Yeah. Or in fact, if you could find a venue that size near an airport and get more European teams in, but no such venue, as far as I know, exists.
The only way I can see
I think one option would be to look at what John has left in regards to BonesCon terrain-wise, and look at kind of hiring that. But again, that's a cost that comes out of what I would then be able to offer as price support. And I think, you know, I'm not quite sure exactly how Martin does it, but you know, again, coming back to Welsh Open, you know, he puts on a fantastic spread of prizes, and the price support is very tough to compete with.
I think Martin benefits a lot from some very long-standing relationships with sponsors. He also benefits from running the raffle, which the entire donation pool for the raffle goes back into the prize pool, which can sometimes make it a bit of a grueling affair to get through, because there are 3,000 winners. But that's by the by. So, yeah, I mean, just for a comment on the terrain there as well, there were some comments, interestingly, about having the tables not set up in the ETC style, which I thought was interesting. This was not something I was aware of.
You mean the WTC style, Mike?
Yes, sorry, WTC style, where the tables are deliberately amongst the fives, sort of slightly unbalanced. So there will be some definite terrain advantages on the tables. That's not something the judge team was, I think, aware of. Enos might have been, but he certainly didn't mandate that we set it up in a certain way. So I think myself, Benj, Nick, we all kind of tried to make each table roughly balanced.
Yeah, and the ones that weren't balanced, you had players call us over and say, "This isn't balanced terrain, balance it."
Yeah, that was one of.
That is a very fair point.
I had 3 or 4 ones where they weren't balanced terrain, and it was instantly called over. What are we to do? And then you complain about it afterwards.
And you set up a table and you put it all out, and then and you're like, "What do you think, guys?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure, this looks great." You know what? That just seemed overly nitpicky, I think, from some. I saw that comment as well, and I was just like, "Really?"
I mean,
going at the tables.
I think that comment's fair if you're looking at the ETC in light of it potentially being a European practice venue for some of those teams who are going to the WTC.
It didn't feel like that kind of environment for those kind of teams.
Yeah,
it's personally.
And that is another thing I need to consider for next year, because it kind of, the ETC started out very much as a fun event that was there kind of, I think in its early days it was 1 list per player, you know, the 5 lists across the team. You know, I don't know what the matchup kind of process was back in those days, but
the actual teams used to be 4 players.
Yeah, it started as 4 players. You're quite right.
Yeah,
only
be able to get draws.
Yeah. I think the year before last was they had a wild card table, I think.
The hot table. That was a hot mess of an idea.
Yeah, the year before I think was the hot table, and then the year before last was the first year of 5. So I mean, maybe next year, I don't know. I mean, putting it out there as an option to look at doing it as even a 3-man tournament, and taking it back to that kind of more fun event. Making it a 3-man tournament means, you know, there's more room. So if we were to do it at the Northwest Gaming Centre, I mean, I don't know what 3 into 110 is.
I would say there is an event that's going for that 3-man format that Jason's running up north.
this isn't like it. Obviously, it's nothing definite. It's just kind of spitballing. But you know, if that is something to look at, or you know, maybe changing the format slightly and looking at what can be done with it, because you know, when you think about it, the teams that did attend there, you had the 3 English teams, well, 2 English teams which will be attending the WTC. One of the teams was a German team that had players that weren't of German origin in it. There was another German team that was, again, not a WTC team. And I think a team primarily made up of Swedes with, a few others that weren't in the team. So when you think about it, in pure WTC teams, 2 teams there that were there for practice.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe a few Welsh teams as well. Sorry, apologies. There were probably a couple of Welsh teams as well that I'm overlooking. So I mean, if we say 5 out of 26 teams are there for WTC practice. So,
but even then, I'm sure there are quite a few players there who would be looking to go on to the WTC after this.
Yeah.
So
maybe,
I mean,
I kind of recreate that experience, I suppose, as well, for guys who maybe aren't going to be able to make it onto a team and aren't going to be able to play.
Yeah, that actually is a really good thing. It's being able to have the experience of that unique 5-man environment, lots of teams all being very competitive, without having to go through the process of qualifying for a WTC team, and also in some ways, you know, hoping you're in that. Well, not just hoping you're in that top 10, but you know, maybe my nation gets a 3rd team. So,
or the selection process, the money that they have to spend in travel.
Yeah, it's and it is overall cheaper to come to the ETC. So I would probably hesitate against mixing up the format that much.
Yeah.
However, in regards to format, there were comments made about the fact that it was 4 games rather than 5, and I would actually defend your decision to stop the tournament at 4, because that was the expectation of that rules pack, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
That when there was 1 undefeated team, the tournament would end.
Yeah.
Obviously, for some people who'd travelled, that was always going to be a bit disappointing. It was always a risk with those numbers. It's been a risk every year since forever.
Well, I mean, if you get just 1 team, if you sell the event out and 1 team doesn't turn up for whatever reason, there is a risk it could go to. Well, if it's 1 team, it could go to 5 games, I guess. If it was.
Yeah. The closer you get to 32, the more pair-up wins you need. The ETC this year had 2 pair-up wins in 4 rounds, which led to a 4th round winner.
Yeah, it's highly unlikely that it happens. It's just one of those times. I mean, we're on what we think about the 8th ETC, that it happens to happen.
Yeah.
But it could have happened in any of the previous years as well. There's not been a year I remember where it's been the correct 32, 64, 16.
There's always one.
Teams.
This is always the risk. When you got that many teams, the risk that you are going to have 1 team where 2 people go down with illness a week before the event and go, no, can't travel.
Yeah.
That's a lot higher than a normal event.
It just takes a single person to potentially take a team out. I mean, Benj was filling in for a player on one of the teams because they had a last-minute dropout.
If you remember the year we played, that was the year where Kev Bryant disappeared on day 2 with the rest of his team because he physically could not get out of the bathroom.
Yep.
Food poisoning, I think, was the.
Our team had 2 stand-ins on it because yourself and Kurt weren't available to play it that weekend. And it, you know, you're always going to have those teams that just can't make it or whatever, and you're not going to get your 32. It's very rare you will. And it's an interesting discussion about what you do with that. I mean, would you favour just either a change it from the Swiss format, or just saying it's 5 rounds and we'll deal with tiebreakers?
I mean, I think for next year, there's a few things I want to kind of put in place as kind of guarantees. First and foremost, and one of the other pieces of feedback was around the rules pack. It was a bit of a fiasco this year, and I hold my hands up that
it wasn't entirely on you though, because we originally planned this for Steamroller, the new Steamroller.
Yeah.
That then it hasn't come out.
No. But yeah, I think so for next year, one of the promises I'm going to make is that when the tickets go on sale, if not before, the rules pack will be published. So people, know what they're going into. There'll be a final rules pack. It'll be, approved and make sure that everyone's happy with what's in there. There's no mistakes, that, it's clear. There's no confusion over painting requirements or anything of that nature. And that is fixed. And unless there's a major schism in the sort of fabric of the game, such as it changing to a new edition 3 days before the event, it will stay that way throughout the event. So that is kind of the first thing is that I want to address, is that is kind of a promise I'm going to make for next year.
I was going to say, you joke about the edition change. That happened last year, but there've also been ETCs where we've had, there've also been big tournaments where we've had like monumental infernal decisions halfway through, or where we've had clarifications in errata that have landed like days before, and you just sit there going, what the hell am I meant to do with this?
Yeah. There was another thing I was going to say, but I've completely forgot what it was now. About the round, yeah. So again, my intention for next year is to run it again for 32 teams. I will be writing into the rules pack the fact that I'll promise 5 games. So, regardless of how many teams turn up, how many teams get played down, we will play 5 games. That'd be that put to top 4. Well, I think the way I'm looking at it at the minute, but I'm going to kind of speak to a few people and get some insight and some assistance. But I think
I do think day one. Yeah, I do think actually, you as the person running the ETC have a great resource to draw on, because you have, hopefully you still have in your possession the emails of not just the 2016 captains from this year, but also of the team captains from the previous ETC that you ran. So you have this great wealth of people who, not necessarily turn it into a democracy, but you can actually get a little bit of feedback and say, okay, I've got a couple of options. What's the mood out there? And, even if in the end you don't pay too much notice to it, you've actually got those points of view coming to you where you can say, okay, yeah, you've made a fair point on that one. I'll reconsider this bit. Or, okay, I have backing for this part of the rules pack. That's pretty solid.
Yeah. So, definitely it's definitely the case. I do have those email addresses tucked away somewhere, I'm sure. So, I mean, social media as well, there's no harm in putting it out there in social media.
I will say, be careful with the opinions of social media. Having been somewhat a victim of a, how can I put this, some comments directed my direction over my opinions on the WTC a few years ago, take social media with a pinch of salt.
Yeah. Social media is unfortunately just the loudest voices, and it's like, do you want to listen to those loudest voices? Are they really truly representative of everyone? I mean, ask the question, but everything that comes back, be a little skeptical.
Yeah, and it's one of many voices. I think is the best way to look at it. It's not. I'm not going to base everything I do on social media, because I know not everybody uses social media, and I know not everybody posts on social media. And as with a lot of things, the sort of opinionated few come to the fore, and that is the case with a lot of things. It's going to happen. But another thing I want to look at as well, and I did kind of say this last year, and player kind of goodie packs was something that was mentioned again this year that was missing, and I accept that was something that I was looking at doing, but monetarily and planning wise, just unfortunately didn't come about, and it wasn't unfortunately something that I could pull off. So looking at engaging with some companies to potentially sponsor the event and provide merchandise. I mean, I did this year. I did contact a few people, a few places. A number of companies said, "Yeah, we'll send you some stuff through. Send us your address." Sent all the address details through, and lo and behold, unfortunately, nothing came through. I don't want to name names or anything of that nature, but
no,
it was unfortunate. It's a shame, but again, I think being compared to other events that have been established for a number of years, and while the ETC has been established for a number of years, this is only my second year running it. So I think bigger and better things for next year is definitely the plan. It's still definitely going to run it next year, and fingers crossed we get a decent attendance and can run a good event.
Yeah, I think the key thing that people have got to take away from this is that you have read all the feedback. You've taken sort of quite a bit of on board, and you've shown kind of a lot of willingness so far to kind of take some of those opinions on, and mix them with some ideas of your own, and try and bring the ETC to a place where you can be happy running it, and people can be happier playing in it.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's kind of it's part of the job of an EO to kind of have an ear to the ground and say, okay.
Yeah, well, I mean that's why I do it. Do it for the enjoyment of the players, and the last thing I want is the players to come away and say, well, I didn't really enjoy that event. There's several things that didn't go as I thought they would do, and I think changes need to be made. I think the best thing for me to hear will be everyone comes away, fantastic event, no feedback, job done, kind of same again next year.
Part of me just questions,
is that ever going to happen?
How much of it was everything that's been said, and how much of it is that the game isn't in a positive place right now, and their way of feeding that back is through niggling about things that they felt of little things that they've just enhanced.
I mean, you say the game isn't a positive place, and I'm really kind of struggling around this one, because I partially think it's more that there are some large community voices who can't necessarily play the game they want to play, and are basically being slightly destructive on the community as a whole. I don't necessarily think it's the game itself, because the game itself hasn't really changed. All that's changed is the meta and people's attitude to it. And the meta has been an evolving thing over the 7-8 years that I've been playing now. And I think the only time I've seen people as vocal about the game is when the the Miserable Meat Mountain was around.
Oh yeah.
So I think part of what's going to happen is the meta is going to evolve. It's going to change. People are going to rotate out of the game. Other people are going to rotate in, and hopefully we can get a little bit of freshness going on with the new steamroller coming in, and it can bring people back to a point where they're happier with the game, despite the fact not much is going to change. That's just my opinion on it. I'm going to throw it out there. I appear to have killed the room. Excellent.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think you're quite right there. I think definitely there's going to be some rotation of players, and there's going to be some people who, like you say, big community voices who have been in the game for a long time who will depart from the game and will move on to other games, and may well come back. The grass isn't always greener. It could well be a case that some people think.
It's not just that, even. It's a natural part of any game that at some point people have had their, 10 years of playing one game, and they go, you know what, I'm going to sell up and I'm going to go and play Infinity, or I'll sell up and I'll go and play Malifaux. And sometimes they'll go to that new game and they'll be tremendously happy over there and become a community voice over there. Sometimes it works out less well, and you have the never-ending boomerang people who leave every 2 years and come back again. So,
I mean, who would have ever thought, sort of 5-6 years ago, Jamie P would no longer be part of the community? Just looking at the UK community.
That's a very fair point.
He was a massive kind of figurehead for the whole UK community, and he'd done a lot over in the States. He'd gone over there and played and won at some tournaments. And for him to leave the game back then, you probably sort of said, "Well, that's never going to happen. No way." But people change, and people's priorities in life change, and people, can't put as much time into the game, or don't want to put as much time into the game, and I'm saying just.
And there's generally always someone or a group of someone who kind of step up into the breach and move in. So, okay, I think that's perhaps enough on the ETC as it stands. Unless there's any sort of final thoughts.
No, Nick, Ben, have you got any feedback or?
Not particularly. I think there was some good feedback. There was some that was just very unproductive. I think I disagree somewhat with Mike about the sort of state of the game and being a contributing factor, because there was some criticism leveled at us that the environment wasn't as good this year. But I don't
necessarily think that was leveled at us per se.
Difficult.
When you're talking about the atmosphere of a tournament, that's a combination of a whole lot of things.
I think that
that's the people in the room, that's the organisers, that's the game itself, that's 17,000 different factors, and if like 4 of them are slightly worse than normal, you end up with a worse atmosphere. But that's kind of by the by.
So, fair enough.
Okay.
The Scottish guys gave me some really cool dice that have the Storm Division logo on them, so I'm really happy.
The Storm Division?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm showing it on camera. Those of you who are listening to this won't be able to see. There's some orange ones, some see-through blue ones, and some slightly darker see-through blue ones. But they have the Storm Division logo on them, and they're really cool.
They do look quite nice.
Very nice.
Obviously, they obtained Privateer Press's permission to use that image on a dice.
Well, maybe not.
Okay. Well, other than that, I suppose we should end with some of the discussion of. I threw up a Twitter post earlier on today asking people what they want us to discuss.
Byron would like to say that in future ETCs that new terrain would be very nice, but that's probably a venue issue.
Yeah, and that's something I can speak to the venue regarding and work with them and look at what kind of options we've got around kind of developing a terrain pool. Because I mean, it'd be great for me to be able to say, yeah, I've got all this terrain that I can use regardless of where we go. Because I mean, I don't know, the terrain element, unfortunately, is not significantly better than the terrain at Firestorm.
I will tell you what the problem is for War Machine with the 2 big venues in the UK, and that is neither of them wants to use flat terrain.
Yep.
Because I know that I seem to remember Rob's opinion was Rob being the guy who owns and runs Firestorm Games. If you're going to use flat terrain, you might as well use 2p pieces for models. And what's the point? Which is, that's fair enough. That's an opinion to hold. It's everyone's right to have an opinion. Element Games as well. I think with the amount of money they've put into sort of upgrading the tables and the venue, yes, 3D terrain does look better if you're going to photograph a venue. Unfortunately, War Machine is a game that works better on flat. And it is expensive. You can't. It's hard to kit out a whole event with flat terrain.
Yeah.
So I think that's always kind of going to be the problem with it.
Still at 2 pieces of felt.
Oh God, no, not the felt terrain. Well, oh, this is a nice coaster on the table. No, that's a fog bank. Oh, okay. So, anyway, moving on. See, I do still sometimes use that. Something that's something that's not too far out of the realm of what we've been discussing. One of the first questions was from Jacob Graham, and he asked for because he's running the Midlands Open this weekend, aiming for a 32-player tournament, currently 28 sign-up. And he's also faced the prospect of potentially having to stop at 4 rounds instead of the 5 that he wants. And asking for opinions on how people feel about the impact of doing that. Now, I did a sort of TLDR post earlier and said, look, Swiss is not a knockout tournament. So if you want to add rounds, you can generally add another 2 to the number of rounds you play and be mathematically safe. You can sit there and you can make that face all you like, but the fact is that Swiss tournaments are meant to deal with
You don't have to end up with an X and O winner.
Exactly. They have strength of schedule. They have tiebreakers. Now,
it's just strength of schedule is an absolutely terrible thing, especially if people potentially drop out, and especially depends on how you set your round ones up. And there can be a lot of variable factors in it.
I would
the frustration for me is being a professional tournament organizer, this being my day job. I really hate not being perfect with it. Which is...
I'm going to go back to the well and dig up the old one. Yes, strength of schedule has some innate terrible problems. Partially in being, for the most part, random in round 1, and that potentially knocking you sort of up or down a place or 2 at the end. But at the end of the day, it's probably the least worst way of doing it.
It is probably the least worst way of doing it, because you need the ideal world where everybody is ranked and seeded into the tournament so that you get the correct round 1 matchups. Yeah, and that is a world that nobody wants to fucking live in. We've been there.
I'm 12 places ahead of you on the rankings.
We remember rankings. That was a terrible, terrible decision. I mean, other game systems have tried that.
Rankings brought nothing good things to the community.
Other game systems have tried to have their own equivalents of rankings, such as I don't know if you remember back in the days of the UDE Upper Deck running their tournaments for Yu-Gi-Oh! And for WoW TCG and things like that. They had a system where, as a new player, you started with a rating, and effectively an ELO rating of 2,500, and moved up and down this hidden ELO that nobody really followed, but it was there in their tournament system. So every tournament system updated.
I will say they did publicise that at one point.
It was publicised, but actually no one gave a shit, which was fantastic.
That was the thing. It was good. But going back to the question, personally, I have no problem with playing over the amount of rounds needed to get to X and O. In fact, as you play more rounds, the tiebreakers should be more reflective of actual quality of play.
The question I have comes down to how serious and competitive the tournament is being regarded as. If the tournament is being there as a prized first place win this big prize tournament, such as your nationals, your ETC and things like that, then going past X and O, I don't think is a good idea. If it's a local tournament, if there's maybe a £5 prize for the local shop or just pride on the line, I've been to a fair few tournaments where there's no prize at all, then there's no harm in it, because you're there to play games and have a good day. So play games and have a good day, just in a more structured format than rocking up Iron Arena style and being like, hey, want a game? Let's throw down.
Why would you draw that distinction between big national tournaments and the local ones?
Because
I'm curious.
there is far too, if you went past X and O in a national style, in an ETC style, and then the tiebreakers had such an impact that the winners were somebody you would never expect to have been there, or it was very clear that somebody who placed second, third, fourth should have been the winners. It then demeans from the whole tournament. It creates an atmosphere around that tournament that frustrates people, that frustrates the players.
But just to take this on the face thing, the winner of the tournament is still the first. I don't know what you're doing, Alex, but it's making noise.
I don't know what he's doing either.
No. The winner of the tournament is still the person with the most wins. After that, it's going to...
But you can have a tie of multiple people at the most wins. You can get to the point where instead of having 1 or 2 people at the most wins, you have 8 different people with the same wins. Because of the way that once you go past that X and O, you can start to have multiple people on the same scores.
If you go 2-3 rounds past it, yes. If you go 1 round past, I think there's not the chance of that many, I don't think.
1 round past it, you have a pair down. If the pair down loses, then you have however many would normally fit. It depends on how long the tournament's gone before it, but in theory, you can have half as many as won their previous games, which is generally around 8. So you can have 5 people that are then in contention for winning. And that's just not a place you want to be.
But then you've got the people who are in the final, and then the people who face them in the next round, who are going to have massive advantages on the tiebreakers.
True.
So, I think looking at it now, that's something that it bears mathematical investigation. I would personally say there is not much of a problem with it. I think
if you ever
perhaps if you want to guarantee a certain number of games, then split people up into groups, have them play round robin or Swiss, and then do a cut, and then have everyone else the best of the rest tournament.
There are many different tournaments systems that you could move to.
You are a huge proponent of the double elimination, for instance.
I like double elimination. I like the idea of having the 2 days being separate tournaments, where day 1 could be a Swiss, whatever, cut to top X. Those X teams go through to day 2. The others start a second tournament that could be smaller prize or something like that. What we did it with the True Silver Championship big Hearthstone tournament, 30 grand on the line, and we had the redemption
Hearthstone, but you know
that was then on the second day for all the competitors that didn't get through to the top 8. They went into the Redemption Cup that then had 3.5 grand on the line, and so they were still playing for something, and you still had a potential
equivalent to the Olympic repechage.
Yeah,
where people who are knocked out of the tournament can still work their way back up into a bronze medal, essentially by means of an alternate bracket system.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's an interesting format, and there are plenty of other games that do stuff that War Machine doesn't. In that, there is a cut to top X for day 2, and everyone else has side events or a free play area, or they have something. You've got the Hangar Bay tournaments in X-Wing, where if you drop from the main event, you go and play in the Hangar Bay tournaments and win some cool stuff.
I mean, one of the interesting ones was Star Wars Destiny did a 10-round tournament, which didn't have enough players to do 10 rounds. So you end up with people, like most people have dropped the game because you've got 10 rounds before doing a cut to top 8, cut to top 16, I think it was. But it's just, you can go past the X and O if you are doing something to then separate on top, and you're using that as a way to differentiate your top players and giving them a chance to drop a game. I'm not a big fan of effectively what is single elim, which is what Swiss is, because if you drop a game, you have no chance to win. Meaning if you get paired against a very good team early on, or you have a rough start because you had a rough night the night before, or you've had a very long day of travel and you didn't get enough sleep because the hotel's a bit crummy, anything like that, anything that's outside of your control.
Well, I will say
the
that
tournament punishes you for it.
Yeah. I will say, a few years ago when I was running the UK Games Expo Masters, I did actually do something that was pretty much unheard of for War Machine tournaments at that point, and said, okay, day one, we're playing Swiss. We're not playing to a winner because we can't in one day. However, at the end of that day, top 8, you'll be called back for day 2 for just an 8-person Swiss, because we can finish that in a day. And everyone else, there is a free 3-man team tournament. If you want to join, feel free. If you haven't got enough players, well, we'll mix you up with other players and you can do something that way. And there will be alternate prizes for that. And it worked. People had fun. I will say there were a couple of the more competitive people who were very vocal about the fact that X and 1s got let into the top 8 for day 2. But at the end of the day, it was like, well, it gives you more games for your money, and the person who wins still has to have the best record overall.
Yeah, that's very true. It's very, very true. And I mean, we've also done very similar things with SmogCon, with the way that you have multiple different qualifiers across the weekend to get into their finals. There's a few different formats out there that are growing. We don't have to stick to Swiss.
And in fact, one of the years that Jamie P made it to a big US sort of Masters tournament that required qualifications, he got in there with an X and 1, I believe.
Oh, what was the event called? It used to be in February. TempleCon.
Yeah,
that was the one. And yeah, because he faced off against JD in the 3rd round.
I was like, I will actually again go back to something that's been a very big change in the War Machine community. The War Machine community has become, over the years, very resistant to all alternate formats, and I do not know what where the push has come from. Because let's take the Welsh Masters of 5-6 years ago.
That was an amazing format.
Yep, it was 6 games. You built 3 50-point lists and 3 35-point lists in old money, and you played each list once and once only over the whole weekend. The final game had locked tables, so wherever you were in the standings, you could only move like up or down 1 at that point. And that was a tremendously fun tournament. 2 years later, Martin decided to experiment with the format again and got absolutely slaughtered on social media. And I'd really like to know what's caused this change in the community.
Very similar. We used to have Fun, Quick and Dirty existed back in the past. Someone tried to run it this year. It was last year, and it just went down and got absolutely sorted. For Fun, Quick and Dirty, for those who haven't been listening for many years, have been going, was a 15-point in old Mark II money tournament where you brought 3 15-point lists and you DNC 2 or DNC 1.
Okay, it was generally over 5 games. You played your first 3, and then you had to drop 1 list, and you had the other 2 lists had to be used for your final 2 games.
So you DNC 1 for the first 3 games, and then drop a list and DNC 1 again.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah, that was it.
It was a marvelous format.
It was fantastic fun. It was a dumb one day, having a laugh, making some crazy stuff work.
I mean, that was, you know, one of those was the tournament where I ended up having to go, I've put Gordon in a really bad position and had to use my own driller to just throw him backwards up the table. Like, no, you're not killing my caster this turn. It was an absolutely ridiculous format for a tournament, but it just was so much fun. Food Machine, which was a great fun system, has pretty much died in the UK from what I see. So I
don't know if Breast Cancer Brawl's still going on either. Like a lot of
Breast Cancer Brawl definitely is still going.
One-day things seem to have died out, and we were talking about this before the show as well. I personally miss time turns. There was before Death Clock, before.
Let me just interrupt briefly. Sorry, Jacob, we've gone off topic, but this is interesting. So.
We used to have time turns tournaments that you could do various things with. It started off with the default time was 15-minute time turns. I think maybe it was 12-minute time turns, something around that region with a 3-minute extension.
12, I think.
12 with a 3-minute extension, I think, was what we used to
Something
play.
like that.
And then we slowly
extensions
brought
were
them
all
into
over the place.
slowly brought them into a point where we were playing 7 minutes with a 2-minute extension.
That was hardcore. It went down.
Yeah.
10 minutes was the final turn length for the 5-minute extension.
And just playing the game at that sort of speed, yes, there were things that weren't favourable. Yes, there were certain casters that had a disadvantage in time turns, like trying to play Striker 2 and feating and having to redo everything wasn't really feasible without blowing your extension on that turn. But you planned for that and you played around it, and it was interesting and different. But we don't have those anymore. Everything is Steamroller, 75 points, Death Clock, and unless you're in Bristol, it's standard Death Clock instead of 50-minute Death Clock.
Which, by the way, if you're not playing 50-minute Death Clock, play it. Because I guarantee you, the next time you go to 1 hour on your Death Clock, you'll just be there going, this seems a bit long. Because in 50 minutes, you can get a game done. Well, 50 minutes on each side of the clock. Plus, at Bristol, it pretty much allows for almost an extra round to be put in. Or for everyone to go home while it's still light. Yeah. I kind of have the feeling this is grumpy old men shouting at a cloud. I'm quite happy to be that grumpy old man shouting at a cloud, because in my day things were better. But there you go.
Miss the interaction and miss the fun. I miss sitting opposite a player and doing things like one after the other, rather than the point. I mean, you saw it before I did, because when Death Clock first came in, I was okay with it. You were not particularly happy with it, Mike, because you said it took away from the interaction. And I think we're like 4 years on now, and I'm finally fucking tired of just my opponents taking 40 minutes to do whatever while I sit there and just sleep.
Yeah, I don't like that time with the interaction with the community as it is right now. I did have so in one of the games that I played, it was quite funny. The guy was nice as pie to me while we were playing, and then right at the end, just as we were wrapping up, one of his mates came over and he goes, "Oh, how did you do?" "Oh, I just utterly crushed him." Just like that, just like I wasn't there. I love the community.
What a nice human being.
It was
Get
nice.
wrecked, scrub.
Yeah, it was just.
Get out.
Yeah,
you are one step away from get good.
It was a nice enough guy. It might have been just, bants and all that jazz, but I was just like, yeah, okay.
As Nick has said, I complained about Death Clock from the start, and I said it would be a problem. And having judged games, I have, within the last 6 months, seen someone play the most miserable game of War Machine ever, which involved a 50-minute turn, which at the end of it resulted in 3 failed dice rolls and a shake of the hands to say, yep, I lose because I can't assassinate you, and I'm just going to lose on clock.
Whereas I remember the classic games of John Webb running Gatsby around the table during time turns, just running his caster away because his opponent couldn't finish the scenario because his opponent's army was so massacred that they just had to keep running around in this circle while the Benny Hill music played in the background.
Yep. I mean, don't get me wrong. Time turns has its own flaws, and the one that gets me, and interestingly enough, this is something that's I believe returned in Steamroller under Death Clock for this year, where you can get a couple of points up on scenario and camp.
Yeah, I remember those.
I would say that's using the scenario to its fullest advantage, admittedly, because I won a lot on dice down. Oh, look, I'm a scenario point up.
Well, that can be in itself a disgruntling way of playing as well.
I was going to say, but the other option is I'm going to build a list that you're not going to be able to kill in an hour, and it's going to contest scenario the entire time.
I liked time turns personally. I can see the appeal of Death Clock, the idea of having lots of time to think stuff through, but time turns as well generally went with the places that I played as well. They were very community. It was very like or I've got to do all this in a certain amount of time, and you were laughing, you were joking. The game was
say, once you've done the 7-minute turns for a regular army, that 10 minutes feels pretty spacious. So having come down from 15 to 10 over the years. So.
Matt asks a very good question of, is Steamroller being so good an overarching potential for the reason that we're feeling this way? Is it that Steamroller's too good, and that's why people think the game has to be played this exact way because Steamroller is the way to play the game?
No.
That's a very good question.
I'd say no, or fundamentally that
I have to disagree and say I think yes. I think back when you very first started playing the game, we did some BattleBox games. We played on your kitchen table, Mike. We didn't really play scenarios back then. And then Steamroller improved over the years and in the years. And if I was to introduce a new player to it, maybe not now, but like 6 months ago, I would have introduced them to Steamroller straight away and to scenarios straight away and to the Steamroller framework.
Yeah, you can argue that, but if it's so good, then why are so many people now dropping out of playing tournaments like this? Because they find the format quite stagnant. It's gone.
But are people still playing the game then casually? Are they playing the game just with their friends without Steamroller, or are they just dropping the game?
I know, because they want tournament practice. That is literally...
Every time someone went on the forums and said, I'm having trouble with the game, I just can't kill my opponent's caster, the first response on the forums and on Reddit was always, are you playing scenarios? And it was always the first one of, if you're going to play, here's the Steamroller pack. And to be honest, it's a really good question of if it is Steamroller being so good that's stifling the game.
No, because there's no. It's not that Steamroller is so good that it's stifling the game. There are very limited alternatives to Steamroller that PP have put out and properly supported, such as thematic, story-based, driven narrative games. They've never been that great.
I would actually argue that the ones that PP have put out for release events and stuff like that have been those thematic ones, have generally been fairly poor. Because we've put them out at SmogCon before, and there's been scenarios I've worked on. There's been scenarios that Jim Stark's worked on, that other people have worked on. The ones that people come back and have complained about have actually been the PP release scenarios every single time.
I think they got a good thing with Steamroller. They milked it, and I don't think that they have been able to evolve something on a level with it, which is where we are at the moment. Wish you could.
But I was going to say, but why do you need something on a level with it? I'm not quite.
Because you need alternatives. You need something to. You need the game to be.
Do you mean something in the narrative space?
I mean something to sit alongside Steamroller.
Benj, I'm trying to understand what you mean, and something alongside Steamroller. I don't know where you're going with that.
Alongside Steamroller is in another format to play, another option for people to play with these models, apart from just assassinating each other. Narrative is one example.
They did have them. They had hardcore as a really viable thing.
Yeah, and they killed it.
Just seems to have gone away.
We previously played campaign tournaments. Both me and you took part in one, Mike.
One down near Bath was tremendous. Legion of Snake Eyes. It was a fantastic campaign weekend.
And I played one in
those
London.
have gone away is such a loss.
Yeah, but they've killed things in favour of the Steamroller.
PP had nothing to do with the campaign weekend.
No. I'm talking.
It was purely community.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about things like bonding to warjacks. Doing evolution of characters and stuff that was in the Mark 1 books that made it a little bit less. Some of it might have been bonkers, yes, and probably not.
Arguably, they've taken that out. They've put that in the RPG, which functions off very much the same backbone.
Mm-hmm.
I would argue that some of those bonds and some of the stuff like that is better dealt with in the RPG.
You can agree. Yeah, you can say that, and I can say that I quite like that flavor of adding. That's why, like people like Warhammer, they can build the armies, they can add stuff, the war gear, the stuff to them. I'm just coming up with alternatives to people leaving.
If saying that one, that's something I fundamentally disagree with. Part of the appeal for War Machine for me is the fact that I can look at a model across the table. I can see the counters down in front of it for, it's got this spell on it, and they're doing this action. I don't have to worry. It's like, is that squad equipped with bolters? Does it have a flamer? Is there a plasma weapon hiding at the back? Do they have crack grenades? Do they have frag grenades? I don't have any of that.
Again, you're going to the extreme. I was again talking about bombs as an example of that.
You're also talking about the customization. I realise I'm kind of going a bit reductio ad absurdum there.
Yeah,
but that was my experience of 40k.
But there's nothing stopping somebody, if they were to run one of these campaign weekends, in reviving those rules and potentially changing them up for the current editions of War Machine and Hordes. Like they could do that. There was lots and lots of added rules, especially in the actually in both Legion of the Snake Eyes and in the one that was run down in London. I can't remember. It was the boosted damage one that John. And
Tanelon campaign weekend.
Tanelon, that was where it was run. They had their own custom rules for things that were just in that setting and were explained, and they had made additional cards or things for them.
That was for everyone on fire, and
there was the docks where you could, where there was the distance you might shake into the water.
No, not docks.
The dragon pendant that my Haley decided she wanted to use her. Oh my god, brain melting. Yes,
I remember you watching her melt after defeating in the middle of six
different armies that are all controlled by Epic Haley, and I decide which one activates in which order, and now need to work out the combination. Brain melt. Anyway,
but then if that stuff has, is it a different kind of player that expects Steamroller now? I mean. Well, look how many people were at the talks in there about the universe, and that at say SmogCon, where they had access to the people who were actually the guardians of the fluff, and those talks had somewhat diminished over the 2 years that they were run. The numbers did reduce significantly as more people were more about the tournaments, more about than they were getting involved with narrative gameplay. I have no idea where we are with this Holden example. Apparently that's going to be finished this lock and load, this how many communities participated in that. Was there there was no nationwide efforts basically to see. Everything just seems now kind of throwaway and replaced by Steamroller, but that's just my kind of opinion. It has steamrollered everything out of existence.
But it is definitely the community that drive that. Steamroller to be that. And why would you drive something like Steamroller to be your number one play experience if it wasn't so damn good?
Because
interestingly as well, Steamroller has in fact even steamrolled over Iron Gauntlet.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
The problem with the Steamroller framework is too good. And I think Matt was correct there, that we take that as the base game now. I
just think we stopped looking for something to stand alongside it or to complement it. We've just settled for it, and I don't think it's great.
I think partially right, because the people who were running those narrative campaign weekends have largely left the game now. For instance, I'm still vaguely in contact through someone else with the guy who ran the Legion of Snake Eyes one. He is at Sad Muppets in Basingstoke. He's moved on to X-Wing, for instance. You've got John Snape, who ran the one in London, who's long since departed the game. So are we just looking for a community figure to run some new events, and would the community even accept them anymore?
No, because
it's a very interesting question, and I'm just not sure.
I don't think so, because I think what's left of the community isn't really strong enough now to start experimenting. People want their the people that are left want their steamroller, and they want to play that ad nauseum.
It was not always so, because looking at the people who attended those campaign weekends and who attended FQD and who went to the Welsh Open, where it was just a ridiculous format, you have some of the most long playing members of the community and some of the most devoted members of the community. That one campaign weekend near Bath, that was actually where I met Ryan Evans, because he brought his circle along to a fully painted campaign weekend. We had a great time.
Mm-hmm.
And Chris Corporal.
Could some of this also be the more recent proliferation of Masters events? Because back in the day, back when all these events were running, we had one Masters event.
We had no Masters events. Masters events were American only.
No, there was one Masters.
We had one Masters with the UK Games Expo.
UK Games Expo. Oh yeah, good point. Good point. Yeah. Sorry.
Which had a Hordes Masters and a War Machine Masters.
But that was in the very beginning, but I think from when I first played,
where people turned up and went, "Time turns? You mean you play with the clock?"
That was that was an interesting year.
And where Alex met a door.
I think that one was the door. Yeah, and it could have been the car keys. Yeah, I don't know. There's a couple of.
Again, this is somewhat like evolved from where we were comment wise, but yeah, I think
it was a really good question. Thanks, Matt.
It has provoked conversation.
It definitely has.
It stirred passions.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the thing. We're all passionate players in our own way. How much we get to play and how much we choose to play has somewhat changed throughout the years. But we're all still here.
Just about.
Just about. Can't afford 40k. Not interested in it at the moment.
Join me in Star Wars Destiny, Benj.
No, because I can't get behind dice. Just rolling dice games. They never.
I mean, you can't get behind rolling dice games. Playing War Machine.
Well, yeah, the dice facilitate models on a table doing stuff.
These dice facilitate cards on a table doing stuff.
There's no models.
I mean, there can be models if you want to bring models.
And those dice do look very low effort. Like,
they're really not. Okay, yes, I will grant you the same thing. I looked at the Star Wars Destiny dice and I thought they were cheap. I thought they were stickers on a dice, but they're not. They're actually really well made and really hard to destroy.
Okay, have you been trying to destroy?
Annoyed him. You're just going to blowtorch over the table.
I just wondered how hard it would be to destroy these dice. Actually, they're really fucking hard to destroy. Yeah, okay. They're not as cheap. They've made them so big so that you can clearly see them across the table, which is a gameplay thing. They made them bright colors. Not sure I agree with it, but once again, it's a visual thing, and it's to differentiate between the different styles. But the game plays really well, and the cards are fantastic. Have some fantastic art on them. So I just ignore the dice. Just look at what symbols on them.
Okay.
Well, we could move on to other things in the list, but there's not too many. I'll just address some quick points at this point if I can. Terry, you're wrong. Runny eggs are the spawn of Satan.
Eggs are the spawn of Satan. But now I've got a critical role. Terry.
Eggs should be boiled for no less than 7 minutes.
I mean, all eggs should just be not consumed.
What else we have? Richard Dean asked about mercenaries and minions in Theme Forces, which we're not discussing because it's CID, and I want a month off CID. That's it.
What's CID, Precious?
Exactly. Yes, we had Jun talking about L5R hype. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I want Legend of the Five Rings.
L5R out. Oh my god.
It looks really good.
Yeah. Is it here yet? Where is it, Fantasy Flight? Give it to me.
September. Interesting. Again, Legend of the Five Rings. It's a card game based on an older CCG. It's turning into an LCG based around a sort of fictionalized Japan. And it looks to be been rebooted in a very nice and graphically lovely way.
I mean, it has always been a very pretty game, and
Oh, yeah.
there's some things that I've really hoped they have kept in, such as you bow to your opponents, and you pass them the board.
They've included the cavalry and the navy rules, I am flipping the table on game one.
Just as long as I mean, the problem with the game is that it went on for far too long and had far too many keywords, Magic the Gathering, that all did the same thing in different ways, and some of them were hideously complicated that you had to consult a rule book for.
You remember that 4-player game at my house?
Yes, and we did play, unfortunately, with somebody who had analysis paralysis. But
for reference, we were playing on roughly a 6x4 table. If there were more than 6 square inches across that whole table that were not either cards or the board for this multiplayer version, then I would be surprised. And then in the end, someone went, you know what, I'm going to attack and just figure out what happens. And it just became this whole thing of, right, these guys are going to this battlefield, these guys are going here, these guys are going here. And then the other person went, okay, I duel that guy before he arrives and he dies, and then I'm going to bow these two and dishonor that guy and do this and this and this and this and this and this and this. Right, I've got no cards left, but you're attacking with no one. Pass it to the next person, who then just destroys their provinces. And it's like,
yeah. But then that's the same thing that happens in like multiplayer Magic the Gathering and things like that. But hopefully they've fixed a lot of that. Hopefully they have done that. One question I don't know if we've seen the answer to. Now, it's coming out in LCG format, which other things like Netrunner have. One of the things that really annoyed me with Netrunner is the starter had certain cards that were only 1-ofs or 2-ofs or something like that. So you had to buy.
It's FFG, you'll need to buy 3.
Yeah.
Fuck's sake. Fuck you, FFG.
Fuck you and your money-making models.
Oh, FFG, I love their games. Don't get me wrong. I adore X-Wing, and it is a fantastic game. But the fact that you have to buy with every expansion at least one of every ship, regardless if you play that faction or not, is the greatest annoyance about the game. And it carries on with all their stuff in that you need at least 2 of the starter box, because, well, otherwise you don't have enough for a 2-player game for a start.
But also they put those cards where there's only 1-of or 2-of in there.
Yeah. And there were things like annoyances with the start, like, for instance, in X-Wing, if you bought 2 of the starters, okay, your Rebel player has 2 X-Wings. But they don't have the wedge card, because the wedge card is only in the X-Wing that's sold separately. So then you need to buy a 3rd one of those to have your full selection of parts. But then you've got like 4 of some of the named pilots when you can only ever use 1. And
I mean, there is eBay. People do. Yes, there is a farthing.
That destroys the point of an LCG. The idea of an LCG is that you should be able to buy one box which has everything you need in it, and each time they release a new one, you buy that new box, which in the later expansions tends to be fine. It's just in the big boxes where they put 1-ofs in there, and it's like,
oh no, I understand that. Mine was more.
I did learn with Netrunner, in that, like the first big box expansion, they did include a play set of every card. Now, admittedly, that was towards the end of my tenure of playing Netrunner, which is a fantastic game, but makes my brain melt. I can't mentally deal with that game.
I love the game. I just didn't have anyone to play with.
I found the game okay. It's just a few instances that I did play. It was just net decks, and yeah.
There's nothing wrong with net decks in a game like that, because you play it's how you play. It's the same thing with a net list in War Machine and Hordes, where when you're starting, makes a major difference.
When you're starting with a limited card pool, it's a bit of a put off.
Well,
in theory, everyone has the same card pool, because you're not opening blind packs to get cards, or having to pay big money for big money cards. You're putting a set amount down for your expansions, which if you are playing at the start or playing with the same people, they should be buying, and you make an agreement to not buy a new expansion so everyone can afford it.
As I was saying, Nick, that didn't happen. So yeah,
I got my
agreement. Plays Jinteki Shell game, which is all from the first expansion anyway.
Yay!
Yes, a good fun game, but just brain, no. Can't deal.
No, we had a chap that was far too ahead in expansions that played with at work, and it just wasn't in the mood to throw down a lot of money just to catch up. So.
Well, anyway, for L5R, for everyone does play, we'll be starting on an even playing field. Yay. I'm trying to see if there's any other questions in the thread. And should washing machines be in kitchens? Maybe.
Mine is.
Mine is.
Mine is here, but in Bloxwich, when I go to my parents, it's in the utility room. So
I have a utility room. And my kitchen is also my dining room because they're all one open plan room. What are you going to do about that?
What you going to do about it?
Rich Dean, that's for spelling it out. That's not happening.
What would you like us to spell?
Are some ways of winning? I think this can be the last one for the evening because at some point I want to go to sleep. Are some ways of winning the game more satisfying than others? Scenario versus assassination versus clock.
Making someone cry.
Well, Ben's there. It's himself as a terrible person. Oh wait, we've already.
Yeah. No, I don't know.
Yes, but it's all down to circumstance.
I would agree.
What are you doing, Alex? Can you stop loading up your dishwasher with your kitchen utensils?
I thought I was on mute. I'm sorry.
Is his dishwasher in the kitchen?
His washing machine, whatever it is. Anyway, there are times where getting that 1 in a million assassination last chance off. It's the Dave Payton. I've lost, but let me try this one thing, and then it goes off. And they're just so satisfying when something like that happens. The same with the scenario. When you are totally up against it, either your opponent's 4 scenario points up at the same time as you are, or your opponent has got a 99% chance of an assassination next turn, and you pull off the scenario win. There's just those times. It's not necessarily about the way you win, but I always say clock is the worst way to win. 100%. It never feels satisfying to win on clock because it doesn't feel like you beat your opponent.
Yeah.
It feels like the rules beat your opponent.
I will say in my last game at Bristol, I did abuse the clock because it is a function of the game that's there to be used. I'd got the remnants of my McBain army, which was like 1 Warjack, a couple of solos, 2 Kyazi, some bits and pieces essentially. The guy I was playing against, he got Byron, I think. He got his Colossal, he got the battle engine for Sirius, Caster, a couple of other bits and pieces. Points are hugely in his favour. But right near the end of the game, I kind of, pulled off killing 1 battle engine on one side, shifted everything over to that side of the table where I could dominate a friendly zone, and he's got massive forest in the way. His caster is way away from his zone. He can't do anything other than pretty much, he's kind of sat there going, well, I've got 10 minutes left on the clock. I can't do anything on scenario. Yeah. I guess you win, which is hugely demoralizing because in any fair format of the game, he had me dead to rights. I was beaten. I've got nothing left. But just sticking yourself in a zone sometimes and going, can you kill me? It seems to work. So I kind of agree. Yeah, clock is the worst way to win. I'll still take it if it's there, but yeah. I'd say for me, personally, winning in a clever wound scenario is probably the most satisfying because more than assassination, that's the point where you feel you've outplayed someone. You may not have, but it makes you feel that way. Again, I've killed people.
I agree.
Take that out of context there. Again, I've killed people.
That's
Sorry,
what
I'm trying to be quiet.
like, oh, I got an assassination. I killed people.
Yep. I've always found assassination to be the hardest thing in the game to do,
Oh,
because even with the stupid the rockets, the mercs, just going, okay, Magnus knocks your caster down and I get something on you and you die. That doesn't work like 95% of the time for me. So
I should try Signal, mate. Signal is really good at assassinating people.
I'd still screw it up. That's why my games are so attrition heavy.
It's really bizarre that the two of us started at the same time, played against each other quite regularly. Yet I am more heavily an assassination player, and you are more heavily a scenario player.
Yeah. Even my Alex loading this again.
Yes.
Even my Karchev list in Mark II, which is like 3 warjacks, loads of elite solos, that won more games on scenario than it did anything else, because it was just able to go in and go, yup, this is my scenario zone. There are 3 heavy warjacks in it. One of them is armor 24. What are you going to do? And just watching people try to figure out the puzzle that was, hang on. Especially the ones who went, Karchev, he's armor 24. This Mollet Khan should be able to kill him. No. Admittedly, the reverse also happened when someone went, yeah, I've got an ignited Mollet Khan that's got all these extra things. I'm like, oh, yeah, no, that just kills him. So it was always interesting watching people figure some of that stuff out. Yeah, compared to Ben, who just crushes hopes and dreams.
I've never done that because I'm terrible at it.
What being a human being?
You've won a team tournament. You came second in another.
Mm-hmm.
You clearly crushed some hopes and dreams.
Hopefully. Along the way.
Sent opponents home crying.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think it's time for a brief any other business, unless anyone's got kind of anything more to say on any of our topics. No? Okay. Any other business? Alex?
Not really.
Excellent. Benj, any other business?
No. Don't think so.
This is terrible. This is the worst segment.
I'm playing Valkyria Chronicles at the moment.
Oh.
No, Valkyria Revolution, sorry. That's the one. The new one.
See, look, I could have been playing Fire Pro Wrestling all podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know...
I mean, the disadvantage, Mike, is that me and you have our cameras on, so people can see what we're doing. So if we were just casually playing consoles, people would know.
See, it's just a complete lack of dedication.
Professionality.
No, I'm playing Hearthstone right now.
I mean,
Anyway.
Exactly.
So Nick, any other business?
I mean, no. I've recently been playing through Final Fantasy 15. Been quite enjoying that game. Been playing Final Fantasy 14. Quite enjoying that game. Go see Spider-Man: Homecoming. Fucking awesome film. Make sure to stay. There are 2 post-credit scenes. Watch them both.
Okay.
Well, you've just ruined that one for me, Nick. Thanks a lot.
What, they're being post-credit scenes in a Marvel movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, make sure you stay for
But there's
them.
not always 2.
Yeah.
So, for my any other business, my local club has recently picked up an X-Wing campaign, which it's 250 points of non-character pilots, and they grow throughout the campaign. It's scenario-based, unlike almost anything else in X-Wing. It's really fun. It's available from the FFG X-Wing forums. It's going to be run at Gen Con as a narrative event. Had a real hoot on Monday playing a mission where you had to sort of slice into various satellites and get a transmission away. And it was very odd because it led to a game where there were 4 Y-Wings on the table, none of which had a twin laser turret. We also had an E-Wing, a Kirax, and an M3A, which these are ships that just do not see the table a lot. I'm sorry, am I boring you?
Oh, but yeah.
Good. And yeah, it's a really fun environment to play in, and if you've got a group of X-Wing players, I would heartily recommend playing it if you're a bit sick of 100 points timed games, which actually, now I think about it, does kind of feed back into the War Machine topic a little. Oh well. Oops.
It's like the X-Wing community is the complete opposite of the War Machine community, where they don't play scenarios, they play 100-point timed games, and the way to make it better is to play some scenarios.
Yeah, there we go.
Fuck.
But these are player-created scenarios for a narrative campaign that are changing week by week and have like completely unbalanced lists. Like next week, one of us is going in with 130 points against 120 points, and there's a large ship on the Imperial side trying to get a prisoner across the board, and it's interesting scenarios like that that are pretty much the antithesis mechanically of the War Machine ones, because they're willing to be unbalanced and just do odd things. So anyway, that's enough of that. If no one else has anything else to say, I think it's probably time for Alex to sign us off.
You've been listening to Elite Cadre, the Hordes and War Machine podcast that doesn't take itself too seriously. I've been Alex.
I've been Mike.
I've been Kurt and Nick.
I've been Benj.
You've been a quitter.
Yeah, I quit. I quit everything.
Yeah, not this podcast, seemingly.
Not yet.
Bye. Bye.
Say goodbye, Nick.
Goodbye, Nick.
Goodbye, Nick.
Goodbye.
There we go. That's podcast.
It
We've
could
done
be.
some stuff.
What else could it be apart from the podcast?
It could just be 4 people shouting at each other over the internet.
I thought we did that.
We don't shout at each other.
Not yet.
Unless you're making random noises in the background. Benj.
I'm not making random noises in the background.
We heard that microphone.
What? I was getting a drink.
Mm-hmm.
And I put it down.
Anyway, I'm going to go.
Okay.
It's
I
quite
love you all.
Bye.
I love you too. Bye.
Yeah,
Guess I'll go back to playing Final Fantasy.
Bye.
So I thought that went
We're
decently
still
well.
live. Why are we still live?
We're still live because I haven't pressed the stop broadcast button yet. Because normally before then, I thank the live studio audience.
There were 6 of them. There were 6 of them today.
Up to 7 at one point.
Oh.
Yeah. We clearly still have. Okay, maybe 1 fan listening in 7 times, but
No.
Really?
No. There was some discussion between is it Iska? Is that how you say it? Iska Dell and Byron and Matt. So there were at least 3.
Yeah.
What were they
Normally
discussing?
They were unsubscribing because of Mike's opinions on eggs.
Hooray!
They were throwing some questions out there. We read Matt's. Iska sent another one, which I've added to the chat for next time we do, which is about faction balance and the size of factions and options in factions.
That's going to be a nice quiet topic.
Well, yeah, I'm a lot of my friends.
Terry. Apparently, Iska is Terry.
Okay.
Terry.
Some of my friends have complained about faction bloat, and then you think about it, like, well, actually, is there faction bloat when you only take a small percentage of the faction because the rest of it's in the bin, or is currently unplayable?
But is it that you just take the top percentage of a faction regardless because that's the best, and the rest of the faction could potentially be viable? I'm looking at you here, Signar. But it just doesn't seem the light of day.
Away preview content for next time.
There's lots to discuss here.
I'm pretty sure we've trod that ground in Mark II before.
I think so, yeah.
Basically half the size of what they are now.
I know.
Well, except for Mercs, because Mercs don't get.
Oh, no one cares about Mercs. Anyway.
Fuck you, Benj. Fuck you.
Right. It's all right. Who plays Mercs? Who's the big name that plays Mercs these days? Come on.
Kev. Oh wait.
No. No. The pundit, Kev Brian.
That bloke comes from Oxford with you.
Who?
He's a decent player and plays Mercs.
Oh no, he plays Mercs occasionally. Now he's bounced to Circle. At least I get variety in factions whenever I play him, because every other week he's playing something else. Although his circle is very nicely painted, so that's a pleasure.
You'll be happy to see it on the table.
It is really nice. He just finished his Loki quite recently, and that was that's a really nice model as it is. It was a really good paint job.
Oh, the chain weapon and shield.
Yeah, the character Warbeast. Yeah. I bought some circle actually to start painting.
Okay.
I brought Chromac one.
I really should do something with my circle.
You've got circle?
Yeah, I've got quite a bit of circle.
You should just give it to me. It's fine.
I've put it on the table a couple of times. Admittedly, one ended up with almost a rage crit against Nick.
Nemo had his day.
That if you want to look, there are 2 examples in my lifetime where I have been severely tilted in a game. That one against Nick was one of them, where I so very nearly walked away from the table, and it was entirely on me because I was being a dick about things. The other one was against Jim Stark, where you'd got Dave and Tim just looking over every 5 minutes as he slowly made me more and more angry throughout the entire game.
Was that because of the way he was playing, or just because it's Jimmy?
It was, those games where every time you're trying to do something at exactly the wrong moment, someone interrupts you with a question, or just kind of states a rule wrong at you, and every time you ask them their rules, they slightly misquote them. It was one of those games, and I was slowly building to a table flip moment, up to the point where I had to leave the building for 5 minutes just to kind of take a breath of outside air and just calm down.
Nah, you should have gone full Hulk.
I don't like to do that, Benj. I like to stay in my very pleasant zen place where I can be nice to everyone.
What I'd like to do is do that Immortal Lion and just turn around to them and just go, and they go, what's your secret? How do you keep it in control? And it's just go, I'm always angry. And then just walk away and Hulk out. Or bulk out, whichever.
Except yours would be, I'm always depressed.
I'm always clinically depressed. Oh, and then just walk away.
We think the world of you, Benj.
I wouldn't. Find someone better. This new Hearthstone expansion has got me really in a tiz of a pickle. Because I fucking hate the game. Much like I hate every game, but I still want to throw money at it. So
I'm not sure why you do, but
it's Ice Crown Citadel, and it's the thing that's always interested me about Warcraft. It's since I started a Warcraft subscription, it's the thing that I've most done this year is play Ice Crown, like just over and over again. Just
Good God, I've just seen the YouTube chat.
What?
I mean, bravo, people, for actually, caring.
Engaging. Do you see an archived version of it, or is it fresh? Oh, the new Oats short is out. Zygote.
What?
Blomkamp, Neil Blomkamp.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's got an arty studio that's doing lots of proof of concept shorts at the moment, and they're all really good. Firebase was this Vietnam War sort of sci-fi thing. It was brilliant, and now the new one's just up. I don't know what that one's about. But I will watch it. They're about 20 minutes long.
Cool.
Really good proof of concept. If you like Neil Blomkamp, go watch those.
Where's District 10? Come on.
There is no District 10. It's probably never happening.
Said there would be.
You can just create.
To be fair, I hear some of his full-on film product after that. Chappie was a bit of a.
What's that, sorry?
Because he did Chappie as well, didn't he?
Yeah, he did Chappie, which was a bit of a. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't as critical a success.
I hear it was a bit of a disaster zone because of one of the stars in it and his rewriting of things, but I can't sort of comment any further than that.
Don't know. I wouldn't know.
Vaguely involved. So
I mean, Elysium was a bit. Yeah.
Not watched that one, and that looks like it could be decent.
I mean,
I quite like Matt.
What? Sorry.
I quite like Matt Damon.
Wow, you're the first person I've heard that's ever said that.
I have on Google Play the entire Bourne quintology.
Okay.
Admittedly, one of those is Jeremy Renner, but it was going cheap.
Oh, you can see an archive.
In fact, there's a lot of films I own on Google Play because they were going cheap. Although I did buy Kong Skull Island this week.
Oh yeah, I need to see that.
Worth it or not?
I found it to be decent. I won't say it's not going to change your life. If you like King Kong films where a giant gorilla fights something equally giant and bits go splat, you'll be entertained by it. But
is it in the same caliber as Godzilla?
It's a better action movie than Godzilla. I'd say Godzilla is a better piece of cinema.
Godzilla's a better big things fighting big things?
I did cheer at the end of Godzilla when he just basically unleashed his nuke breath down that flying things.
It does not have a moment like that.
Okay.
That moment where everything drops out in the cinema, it's almost completely dark, and you just see the tail light up, and you see the atomic breath.
And you hear the hum as well. There's a hum of it charging. And then, and I'm like, yes!
Have you seen that there's a release date now for Shin Godzilla?
Oh. What, the Japanese latest remake?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, the Anno project.
The rubber suit looking one. I love those ones because they're just the flappy arms, the little flappy arms.
But yeah, Manga Entertainment are bringing Shin Godzilla to UK cinemas. I believe it's sometime sort of August, September. I will try and find a date if you can just hold on a second, or maybe a minute, or maybe 5.
Oh, by the way, sorry, I'm at Hyper Japan this weekend.
Enjoy.
What?
Fair enough.
I said enjoy.
Oh, okay. Sorry, it came at the same time as Mike saying fair enough, and all I heard was
Never been to Hyper Japan. Any good?
I think there's more cultural stuff than there was last year, which was more shopping MCM style. Basically, I think there's more like Japanese culture stuff, older culture stuff.
I'm just gonna say this now: MCM can get stuffed.
Why? So
just way too expensive for stuff that I can now get online.
Yeah, I still enjoy it.
If you're going to MCM to buy things, that's probably where you were going wrong.
I still enjoy the atmosphere.
I used to enjoy some of for a while there were some anime guests that were really good, but the last time it's like nothing of this interests me. So, and to be honest, the events that were on there were usually fairly poor. So, there we go. ShinGodzillaMovie.co.uk. Of course it is. Yes, Shin Godzilla is on the 10th of August.
What? What?
The Godzilla movie.
That's my birthday. It's a birthday present for me. I will share it with the world.
So the nearest one to Basingstoke will be at Cinema Deluxe in Reading, which is actually Winnish, but
Winnish
claims it's Reading.
Oh,
it's also on it's Showcase Southampton. You like, isn't it?
Yeah, Southampton Showcase Southampton's awesome.
It's also showing there.
I might go there. It is during the week if it's the 10th. It is a Thursday, I believe, or a Wednesday.
8 p.m.
Maybe I'll do that on my birthday. Maybe I'll go see Godzilla.
Or if you want to, or if you need a little bit more time, then Harbour Lights Picture House in Southampton is showing it at 9:15.
No, 8 o'clock should be fine. But I'm just thinking how I get back. I have to look up train times.
But yes, I was upset when it turned out Shin Godzilla wasn't coming over here for a very long time, and this was a great piece of news that just made my day infinitely better. Because okay, the Godzilla looks a bit weird, but it does look like Hideaki Anno has just made an Evangelion movie with Godzilla in the middle, and I'm okay with that.
Oh God, are we one of those podcasts that now says I'm okay with that as like a a thing.
I never thought we were doing anything otherwise, but okay.
No. That expression really sometimes gets me. I don't know why.
Is there anything that doesn't get you, Benj?
It just annoys me. What was the other thing that I was completely irrational about that I said annoys me in the chat? And you said,
well, if you're going to ask that question, Benj, we might be here a while.
I know, but where was it? I'll scroll. Why am I still talking as well? I'm tired.
Scrolling.
What other things? You said that I should be institutionalized or something. After.
I don't think I did.
You said something to those.
I'm going to enjoy the last of my Ribena. Which has gone warm.
Yeah. I've run out of milk. I drink far too much milk.
No.
Why?
I drink far too much chocolate milk.
Oh, that was it. I always get disappointed when someone just says gmail.com. It's true. It's true. I really like.
You were expecting more.
It's just so.
Will that make you happy for you to know that I have an @googlemail.com address?
So does the podcast.
That I have not converted.
I did last time.
Podcast @googlemail.com.
My missus had a Hotmail, and I was like quite surprised at that when I saw it. It was like, oh my, ooh, Hotmail.
Someone's still it's not @outlook.com.
No, exactly. And it was a hotmail.com, I think.
You can actually contact me at other places. For instance, vicepresident@hibanacon.co.uk.
What is the point in this time of night? To how many people now? Someone must have tuned out by now.
At least like 5 or 6.
Oh, someone drops off.
Or others, you can have the one for the company I'm a director of, which is mike.chomic@dcnw.co.uk.
What do they do? PPI insurance?
No,
It's
it's the company that is the holding company for the convention.
Oh, you have a holding company?
Yeah.
Oh,
we are
villains in movies have holding companies.
We are a non-profit entity.
You're shipping arms. Metal Gear.
We are a non-profit entity that facilitates the budget for the convention committee.
I thought you were going to say facilitates the death of thousands.
Well, that's plausible in 10 years' time.
Yeah.
Should we have an electrical fault and grow as a convention? Sure. But
Metal Gear.
I did also give some thought to buying an Italian domain name.
Why?
Because as a person in IT, having an @mrchom.it domain address.
You said I was pedantic. You want an Italian suffix?
But they're really expensive.
Okay.
Because they are .it.
Great.
There are some ones you can get a lot cheaper, like Tuvalu's .tv addresses and.
See, even
get some for free, like was it Tonga with .to?
Even Byron's got hotmail.com. It's good. He's an old school person.
I used to have a Hotmail address like 15 plus years ago.
Yeah.
And a yahoo.com address. It's only the email address I don't give out publicly that has survived a very long time.
Right.
I also have a Gmail address that I use purely for spam. So there you go.
All right.
Anyway.
Well, that's it. Let's kill it.
Yeah. So
Suffocate
thank you very
it.
much to the people who've listened in all this way and listened to our incoherent ramblings and possibly me getting angry at things just in general.
Yay!
It's fine. We'll all live. One day, Benj will give me the dress thinking I'm coming around to play a game and I'll just kill him. I mean, make friends with him.
What?
With a very sharp object.
I
Anyway.
missed that. I phased out.
Excellent. Thank you for listening in. We'll see you all here again, possibly next month, maybe. Until then, good night.
Goodbye.
Bye.